Let's look at that because according to, the lawyers, especially the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, he has written to the labor, to those two labor organizations through their lawyer, through the Femi Falana SAN, that was released yesterday, to the effect that if they were to proceed on strike, they would be in breach of a subsisting injunction. So let's talk about that, and let's look at how we can go about this. There was a time when the federal government, through the Minister of Justice, had instituted a contempt proceedings, but upon the intervention of the president, it was withdrawn. Now, our guest this morning is a constitutional lawyer and public affairs analyst, Kabir Akingbolu. Good morning to you, and thank you very much for coming.
It's a pleasure for having me on the program. Good morning.
Always our pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
So, your thoughts on this, because Labour has come back and is saying that come the 3rd of October, it will be going. Now, they even have, an SAN as their lawyer. So, I mean, people feel secure that we're SANs. They don't joke with all these procedures and contempt of court and all of that. So, as a lawyer, let me hear what you think first of all.
Well, when you think about this kind of thing, first of all, we have to look at the law, and secondly, we have to, weigh options. Like when I say options, what has happened? We have to look at the background because, strike is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end, and it does not just arise. It arises after certain conditionalities have been met.
That's right.
If these conditions have not been met, if you are going on strike, it will be illegal. Forget about the court order. The court order is a secondary issue. One, under the Trade Dispute Act, you must not belong to essential, workforce like the medical doctor. But unfortunately, these days, people just go on strike without even knowing the legality or otherwise of it. They just want to go on strike. Just the name strike, we want to go on strike, we want to go on strike. And in most cases, I, for one, I am not one of the advocates of saying people should not go on strike. No, that would be inhibiting their rights to, constitutional rights. However, this right is not total. It has some restrictions. For instance, I know under the military regime, I think under military regime, that's what we call Essential Services Decree, where a medical doctor under those laws cannot go on strike, policemen cannot go on strike, some other people, like in recent times during the lockdown, a court has held and determined that lawyers are essential service providers because there could be breakdown of law and order. Now, people will just go on strike, no procedure, nothing, and before you know it, the whole country will be turned into a chaotic.
When you say people, yes, the TUC and Labour Congress made up of our people, but they have leadership, and I don't think it's imaginable that the leadership of the NLC or the TUC would be unaware of the implications or the definitions. These are what people can't become leaders if they are not knowledgeable in all those areas. And so this is, again, the concern that being knowledgeable in those areas, I would just take for granted, and still not being able to tell their members that we are hampered by due process. There's a situation on the ground. We're not anarchists. We're not going. We want to go, but there is a way to go. That is the part of it. And then when you said the court's thing, the court injunction is secondary, that worried me a bit because I thought, secondary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why I say secondary is that, in fact, the first place, you can't one before two for anything mortal. Now, there is a law in place. The law has conditions, it has stipulations, it has guidelines. to be followed to the latter.
Yes.
Before you can proceed on strike. That is the first thing.
Yes.
That one is already there statutorily.
Okay.
Now, what I call law, this thing,
that injunction,
it's not that it's less effective. What I'm saying is that implied, statutorily, there is even restriction. Then, if a court order now follows, it makes it stronger in the sense that whether you like it or not, whether you want or you don't want, there is no ifs and buts. The law is, once a court has given an order, even if you don't agree with it,
yes,
whatever it is, whatever your opinion is, it remains the order, and it is binding on all authorities to which it is directed. Now, if this order has been granted, there is no reason that anybody will want to go on strike. You understand? Now, the Attorney General fantastically has done what he is supposed to do in the circumstances. I think, by trying to say, oh, these are the implications, please look at it very well. He's not saying, oh, I want to watch and leave it for the Minister of Labour, who may not be a lawyer, though, in charge of the labor symbol. The Attorney General is doing what he has taken it upon himself, so that, lawlessness will not become the order of the day. Because when we proceed on all these strikes, experience has taught us that at the end of the day, you just succeed in creating hardship or more hardship for the people. Because at the end of the day, after 2-3 weeks, you will not know what has happened. They will still come back and say, okay, let us go back to work. What of the things that have been damaged around that time that you have gone on strike? And this idea of no work, no pay, some people will not support it, but I think I support it where the strike is unlawful.
Exactly. And that is what Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, is sort of leaning on, as you well said, that, look, the Minister of Labour is one thing, but there are laws of the land, and they must be upheld. And it's like one lawyer to another lawyer speaking to, Femi Falana, SAN, writing to him. Everybody is obligated right there to be within the law. And so, do you think that Femi Falana himself has too much? Does he have too much wiggle room?
Well, I can tell you very well, being in the human rights world myself with Mr. Falana. Mr. Falana is someone I know so well. And after Ghani, you take him out of all the activities in Nigeria, whether you like it or from whatever standard he comes first. Now, he has been with the labor for decades.
Yes.
And he has so much influence on them. And I will agree, he's a human rights lawyer. He has a penchant for keeping to the rule of law. I would be surprised if we will not advise them to at least, put it on hold. Let other things follow so that we can have a breathing space and there will be more rooms to negotiation. There cannot be end to negotiation because the welfare that we talk about at every particular point in time is relative. So when you demand for one thing today and it is done tomorrow, you want another thing, it is normal. You understand? By human nature. But I think Mr. Falana will do the needful. I don't see him that he will support them going on strike, except, and of course, those conditionalities have been met by labor, or those other conditionalities, some other conditionalities have been breached by the federal government. Because it's a two-way thing.
Exactly. Even the National Economic Council has advised against going on strike, simply because we can't really, it stands to reason. It doesn't matter what side of the divide you're on politically.
Yes.
That's a very important, that's a silent part to this whole thing.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what side of the political divide you're on. There still is the law, and everybody we imagine must strive to be under its ambit.
Exactly. You see, the moment you throw away law, the moment you throw away rule of law, the moment you disobey what the Constitution or the Labor Act or whatever is saying, the Trade Dispute Act is saying, you say to hell with court order, then you are trying to create anarchy. So the labor union leaders, I'm sure, will not want to do this because whether you like it or not, we don't have another place to call our country.
Exactly.
Nigeria remains ours, and we must do everything to protect it. I am not saying that government is doing well or they are not doing well. However, we must know that right things must be done at the right time. And two wrongs does not make a right there. If the federal government has done some wrongs, if they have not been able to meet the demands of welfare, they have not improved the welfare of workers or Nigerians or the citizenry and all that, it is not through anarchy, it's not through promotion of lawlessness, it's not through promotion of, disobeying court order. It will not go well for anybody, especially as lawyers. That is our industry. It's our baby. We must protect it. We must ensure that everybody abides by the reasoning of the court.
Indeed.
It does not allow discretion at all.
That's it. That is it. And when you look at it, look, even the president has come in. When the attorney general, said, look, guys, looking at it with blinkers on, the law is the law, and if you were to proceed, you would be in violation of, in fact, as lawyers often add these words, gross violation. Yeah. Violation is violation.
Yeah, but that could be gross.
In gross violation of a subsisting, court order. That's why I brought in the matter, even though nobody has been speaking about that, and I hope it is irrelevant. But that's why I said, look, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum that you happen to be on. Let's not talk that for now. Let's say this is labor issues.
Yes.
Let's leave it strictly in the purview of labor issues. The president has leaned over backwards. He has prevailed upon the attorney general to withdraw, the contempt proceedings he was about to institute, just so as to provide a more, let us say, enabling environment. Because, look, what does labor want anyway? Labor is not carrying on for itself. Yeah. It is carrying on for the workers of Nigeria, yeah. And by extension, it is, in support of Nigeria, but so is the administration in charge. Labor is supporting Nigeria. The administration in charge definitely is for Nigeria. So what do you want in the light of what has been explained that, look, there's very little wiggle room here. Patience is everything. Yeah. We've got to be patient. This is not going to be a situation that's going to be there forever, but we must be patient so we can come out of it. Now, if you don't listen, yeah. Which I'm not saying labor is not doing, but if that doesn't count for very much and you still say, come the third, we're going to move in this way, that's worrying.
I think in the past, I don't see, except on one occasion, that Adam Oshiomhole, as the labor leader, was able to move the military to do one or little. It's just a marginal achievement. There is nothing. All over the world, only few things can be achieved through force. You can, by negotiation, by compromise, by understanding, by cooperation. A lot of things can be done. However, it needs to be pointed out here that the labor union, they have a right to go on strike. They have the duty to do it. They have the obligation to also move their members to do all this. Because you see, if we talk about federal government doing this or the labor not doing this and all that, we should also talk about federal government. Because you see, you can't be pinching me and say I should not cry. Mm-hmm. You understand? Mm-hmm. People are suffering. The suffering is much. The price of commodities are going up every day. You understand?
In fact, NLC is saying that we have no agreement with the federal government not to go on strike now.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like, don't gaslight us. That seems to be the point of view of labor.
That's what I'm saying, because you see, it's two ways now, but it has to be balanced in the sense that if people are suffering, if the members are suffering, because the workforce in Nigeria, majority of them belong to labor union, one way or the other. So if labor union is not doing this, it will look as if they are too, they are too complacent, and people will not like it at all. And don't forget also, people voted them to be there. But a situation whereby things are becoming unnecessarily expensive, and by the day, it's getting harder. You will see the removal of fuel subsidy, there is nothing as good as the removal. However, what has happened thereafter? What are the assurances that the federal government is giving Nigerians? Everybody is suffering. It is not easy.
Yes.
From, when something increased by more than 300%, it is not something to write, a song and dance about. But I think, there must be enough negotiation, because there could only be strike when there is a trade dispute, or when the dispute cannot be resolved through amicable resolution and all that, or negotiation. That is where they can declare a trade dispute and From there, you can go on strike. Whichever way it will be, I think they have gone on 2 days warning strike before. By that time and now, federal government ought to have done 1 or 2 things to ensure that this thing didn't happen. But my problem is this: if we go on strike, cause issue for people, we still come back to the same drawing table and come and agree on some other things. So why don't we eschew that, that channel to ensure that things are done properly so that people will not suffer more?
Yeah, exactly. Good morning, Mr. George. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to your guest.
Yes, thank you.
Uncle Yori, kindly give me 90 seconds to say something on this issue.
Sure.
What Labour is doing is simply to ground the government. It's not about going on any strike. What has the government not done that, to address the situation on ground? The government is about establishing 42 CNG industries. Does it take 2 weeks to do that? Most of those components they are using to set up the companies are not in Nigeria. Will it not take some time to do that? Government has given 5 billion naira allocation to every state governor. Labour has not approached any state governor to ask, how are you spending this? Involve us in the way you want to distribute it. All they want to do is just to bring down the government because the person who is the president, they don't like him. We hear that Labour Party, as a political party, has openly declared support for this strike. Where does that happen? The Attorney General should simply, if I were him, charge them for contempt. That's what the law says. Uncle, you're coming, on this subject of workers. Look at what happened yesterday or the day before. The workers in the Ministry of Works wanted to lynch the money simply because he wants them to do things differently. Where are we going in this country? They were telling him, I saw a video, did you see it? They were telling him, this is federal, this is not state. That is to say, nothing at the federal level must work.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that the attitude? Is that where we are? Is that the country we want to? And these same people are the ones complaining that things are not working. If I were the minister, they are lucky that somebody like me cannot even be a minister. I will sack all of them. Can they do that to
Okay, thank you for calling in, Mr. George. One can understand perhaps your exasperation. We also have, on our program this morning, Ken Okolubo. Mr. Okolubo is a public affairs analyst. He's in Abuja. No, that's not our Abuja studio. No fine reach like that. That must be. Where is that, Ken? Is that your study or something? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Yuri. Thank you for having me.
Indeed.
Today.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on the program. Let's hear it from you in terms of this impending strike, which the Attorney General has said would not be in sync with the existing court order in place.
Well, the fact is clear. The labor unions and their right to go on a strike. But if you look at it...
When you say their rights, in spite of the court order, the subsisting court order?
Just allow me land. If you look at it on the larger picture of what the National Industrial Court, the order that was given on the 5th of June by Justice Anue, it was very clear that there was a subsisting injunction restraining them from going on strike, especially as regards the issue of subsidy removal, which is still the issue that is at stake. When I say it's on their right, labor unions can go on strike, CUC can go on strike. But what the Attorney General has done, which is true, is that there is a subsisting court order, which was issued by the National Industrial Court. And National Industrial Court, under Section 7B of the 2006 Act, that clearly empowers them to deal with labor disputes between government and the labor unions. But how much of that would have an effect on the proposed strike on the 3rd of October remains to be seen in the negotiations that we envisage that should be done between the federal government and the labor unions. What the Attorney General has done is to remind the labor unions that you have not vacated this order. Femi Falana is a constitutional lawyer and a is seen as a freedom fighter who has always advocated that laws of the land should be obeyed. I thought Labour should have vacated that injunction before now, because the 5th of June till now is about almost 4 months since the order was given by Justice Anue. So if that order is still subsisting, I therefore agree with the Attorney General that the labor unions cannot go on strike unilaterally without, first of all, vacating that order. But be as it is, that's not to say Nigerians are not feeling the pains of the exchange rates going as much as 1,000 naira.
Of course.
The fuel hovering with over 600 naira. But we have been told, and the government, to be very fair, just like the last caller has said, has shown that they are making an effort to ameliorate these pains that Nigerians are feeling right now. And I think what the labor union needs to do is more of patience so that they can continue these negotiations with the federal government. What they're asking for, the federal government has not said we cannot do it. From what I can decipher from the negotiations that have gone so far, we don't want to pay taxes. We want an increment in our salaries. Some of the state governments have gone ahead to give them only 3 days of going to work out of the 5 days of going to work, just to make sure that some have even increased by 10,000 naira without even waiting for the federal government. And don't forget that the federal government has also released 2 billion. So what I also think the labor union should do is to interact with the various state governments in the 36 states and in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, so that there will be a nexus within how this 2 billion is being effectively used by these states, so that we can also tell that this 2 billion is going around the local governments and the 774 local governments of Nigeria. That way the impact is also going to be felt by the people, and there will be no such hue and cry and pain as the people are feeling right now.
Indeed. Thank you, Ken, for that initial, shall I say, entry into it. And when Ken was saying in there that he would have expected Labour to have vacated that court order, Labour can't do that. It's only the courts that can vacate an order, right?
No, you make application.
That's yeah.
That's what it means.
Yes,
the right language.
That they should have proceeded. Falana, that is their lawyer, or whoever else that is their lawyer, would have sought a vacation of that order.
All you need to do, ordinarily an interim order should last for a very short time under the law, by procedural law. Now, all you need to do, file an application, get a date for it, and say, okay, this order is impeding our plans or our activities. You give reasons. If the reasons are cogent and compelling enough, the court may be willing to lean in their favor and say, oh, we vacate this order.
Exactly.
Because at times, when somebody, even in ordinary litigation, not to talk about very sensitive issues like this, when a party has gotten an order, he will go and sleep.
Exactly.
He will go to bed. Instead of making, frantic effort to ensure that the problem, does not last beyond, reasonable time.
Yes.
But so far he has a court order, he wants to elongate the problem.
But that hasn't been done.
You understand?
That option hasn't been explored yet.
We might not be able to, they might have taken the option, but I think until the option has been explored,
yes,
and, you have been able to vacate the order,
yes,
the order subsists, and nobody
unless there's something we don't know.
Anybody who does that will be acting illegally.
Unless there's something we don't know. But as Ken said, he would have expected them to have been able to.
Yes, because sometimes you could file the application, it may not be given dates.
Yes.
Sometimes it can happen.
Kolawole has called in from Ifako Ijayi. Good morning to you, Mr. Kolawole.
Good morning, Uncle Yeri.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling.
Thank you. Uncle Yeri, sometimes ago, I called on this show and I said, Labour Party, the Labour Union, they are an extension of Labour Party.
Well,
if we can see this very well, we will see that the Labour Union, they are doing the bid of their pay matter. Because what I can see here now is they are still campaigning after election. These same people are...
But as you know, Labour itself will rebut that. I'm sure you are aware. Labour would rebut that assertion.
Yes, they can. But if we can see the things that they are doing, we will know. Now, fuel subsidy, they are telling the government to go back to start paying fuel subsidy.
Please continue. Please continue.
Yeah, they are telling the government to go back, to go and pay subsidy.
Yeah.
Subsidy that the whole nation knows. that is holding Nigeria to ransom, pushing us into deep debt. They are not patient. They don't want to be patient for this government to do things. All they are doing is just attacking the federal government, There is nothing they are doing concerning the states. The states, they are not going to the states. They are not holding the governors accountable. The federal government has given the states money. They, like the other caller said, they have not even gone there to ask and to know what the states are doing. But all they are doing is federal. The state they are closer to the people than the federal.
Indeed.
Like the other man said the other time, check what happened in the Ministry of Works.
Yeah.
This Labour Party, these Labour people, they are the one, they are standing telling the
Well, that wasn't Labour Party. That was NLC.
This is federal.
I understand what... That was NLC. That wasn't Labour Party. That was...
We know.
Okay.
I'm talking of NLC, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm talking of NLC.
Okay.
So, are they not part of the NLC? Are those people not part of the NLC?
All right.
They are part of NLC. Yes, I understand. I don't know part of NLC. But these are the people telling the minister, this is not state. This is not state. This is federal. So what they are trying to say is that the federal will not work.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
The government to go back to what? To payment of subsidy.
Okay.
These are what they are doing. These are just the things that they are trying to do to force the government to go back to the payment of subsidy, which the NLC are benefiting from.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Akolawole, for calling in. Indeed, additionally, I was just reading that Nupeng has directed its tanker drivers, petrol station attendants, and others to comply with an October 3 strike. But let's take a break now. We'll be back. It's interesting. Two people now have referenced the Umahi workers' confrontation. Maybe we'll look at that a bit in sketchy form when we come back. Stay with us, please.
On my dark marks, I've tried everything. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day one with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using Lumina 630 from Nivea.
Okay, welcome back. And our guest this morning, Mr. Ken Okolugbo, public affairs analyst. He's reaching us remotely, and in studio here, Kabir Akingbolu. And we're looking at the threat of an impending strike by the 3rd of October by Labour. And of course, at the moment, unless there's something we don't know, unless they have managed to vacate a subsisting order but have not really, it hasn't been made public yet, because even the letter that was written to Labour through its counsel, Femi Falana, it was written earlier but only released yesterday. It only became public knowledge yesterday. So unless there's something we don't know, there still is, a subsisting court order in place, which the Attorney General and Minister of Justice has advised upon. And in any case, we've heard, going back to Ken now, Ken, there is patience. I think you've spoken about that. There's patience that is needed in this whole matter, but Labour is saying that it's not as, Labour is not unaware of all of that, but it is saying that it's still going on strike. Commentators have spoken about the need for patience. It's almost like it's a new wife, and you are protesting that the new wife must produce an offspring. Yes, indeed, they will, but there is a gestation period. You can't produce an offspring in, so to speak, 4-5 months. There must be a logical period, which is what the federal government has sort of sued for, that, look, guys, be patient. So much so that, look, we even take some of the problems away. We take the president as a, what is it? Well, what is the word now? Implored the Attorney General to withdraw its suit so as to produce a more conducive environment for us to continue dialoguing on this matter. But Labour appears to be saying, we're tired of dialoguing. Can we have such a luxury, Ken, to be tired of dialoguing?
But you know, when that court order was procured, there was no Minister of Labour. Now you have a Minister of Labour in place. And it behaves on the Minister of Labour to quickly start the dialoguing again before the 3rd of October. You can never get tired of dialoguing. It's jaw to jaw. You must understand ourselves. Now, the leadership organizations that were restricted was the TUC, the Trade Union Congress, and the Nigerian Labour Congress. Those are the two organizations which are the umbrella bodies of the labor union. What I expect the leadership to also do, more than the fact that we're saying they should have vacated the court order, is to also employ an understanding with the government so the government can also withdraw its suits against them in the National Industrial Court. Then they can reach an agreement, because when they go on strike, it's the people that are going to still suffer. These same people you are trying to protect, these same people you are complaining of the hardship that they are facing, are going to suffer more, because we know the trillions of naira that are going to be lost when they shut down midnight of the 3rd of October, like they have said. A lot of funds are going to be lost in the health sector, in the manufacturing sector, in the transport sector, in the education sector. In all the sectors, we know the effect it's going to have. That might not necessarily bring the government on its knees. It will be a case of maybe when the two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that suffers. So Labour will look at it from a holistic point of view and agree that, okay, we can give this last negotiation one more chance, while we also impress it on the government to withdraw its suit against us, and we can come out with a workable agreement that Nigerians will be happy about. We can't go back to fuel subsidy. That is very clear now. The naira is already finding its level in the market forces, even though the naira is still going high. The president has also expressed his concern. Everybody has expressed their concern that naira is getting to 1,000 to $1. It's quite worrisome. And we are dealing with a mono economy which is highly dependent on oil. And if you know what is happening now in the oil industry, it's being rumored that the Brent crude is going to be selling at $150, which is same as Bonny Light. If the Brent crude is selling at $150 and the Bonny Light will be selling at $150, you know the implications on the prices of petroleum, products, which of course would also affect the price of petrol. So these are the measures that we think the governments must put in place when they are negotiating with Labour. We see that the National Assembly has done a fantastic job of clearing the governor of Central Bank and the 4 deputy governors so that they can start work immediately, because taking into cognizance of the fact that the economy is at a very critical period at this time, where inflation is almost getting to 25%. All these are a fallout of what has happened in the last administration and other administrations. It wasn't like it was this administration that this whole thing spiraled into the present situation we have found ourselves. So Labour must also take that into consideration, because like you rightly said, it's just 4 months into the life of this administration. It is too early to start judging them.
Indeed.
From that perspective.
Indeed. Thank you very much. And as Ken has just said there, the economy is, in a delicate state. Everybody is concerned. Ken again said, well, unless it's gotten better, it was even at 1,050 to the dollar. None of this is good news at all. But embedded in all of this is that we need time. When we had an economic subject matter a couple of days ago, it was also said that the economy, the state it's in now, nobody is happy with it. It's going to get better, but it will not be an overnight affair. Our forward payments were woefully out of sync, in that regard. And there's no how this can help. And so the experts in Labour and TUC will no doubt know all of this.
Yeah.
So there's a sense in which Labour itself has to show that whatever be the case, this is Team Nigeria. This is not Team Pakistan one way or the other. Even though people are angry and are saying that the activities of Labour, the way they're conducting themselves, it makes it look as if they're an adjunct of a political party. I'm not too enthusiastic to join in that particular debate. One understands how it might look. But this is Nigeria more than anything else.
Well, let me tell you straight away that Labour has a right to go on strike, to mobilize its members to go on strike. And the argument from the school of thought of seeing whether the it has political intonation and all that. We will not get anything out of that if we go that route. Now, but let me tell you, even, as we speak today, Labour is like, they are the conscience of government. They are the one that pricks the government. Oh, you are not doing rightly. You are doing you are doing a bad thing. This is what people want. Because you see, now there's what they call petrodollar. Petrodollar is a concept in oil that was coined or made that was fabricated by the Americans because they are the largest consumers in those days and even up till now. So because of this, anywhere you trade in oil, it has to be $2. Even if Dangote or whoever starts their own refinery in Nigeria today, you still trade $2. And when dollar is increasing to 1,000, you know what that will mean.
Yes.
So it makes the dollar to be the price of liter to be so expensive.
Indeed.
I can tell you that if the dollar could come down, the petrol that we are buying today, we could still buy for 300, for 200, even for less, if it is coming down, because there are market forces in this.
Thank you very much. There are market forces.
The forces but then we have gone past the era where few Nigerians who are maybe taking this subsidy money. The money we could use for infrastructural development since 2011 to date, 70 to 80% of our annual budgets have gone for recurrent expenditure. But with what has happened now, it may not be so. We will have enough money to pay for our debts. We will have enough money for infrastructural development and some other things. Educational standard will increase, and so on and so forth. But government should do something because people are suffering.
Indeed.
And there is end to
Ada,
human patience.
thank you for your patience, Ada. That's the kind of patience that we're imploring Labour to also have. Good morning, Ada in Jos.
Hello, it's Ada calling for Jos State. Yes. What I want to say here is that as much as I don't support Labour going on strike, because of the problem on ground, but the suffering is so much so that the federal government should not, be hiding under the list guys that there's a court order that has not been vacated. No responsible government waits for a problem to become an emergency before handling it, It's just, okay, you people that are there, your guests, including you, tell me what sacrifice those that are at their hand have made or are prepared to make. Just tell me one, just even one. They are not prepared to make anything. Okay, like you're talking about what is happening is beyond the forest of the poor now. Somebody like me in my category, if they flood the whole place with vehicles, we can park our cars, you understand? And start boarding those vehicles. It's even an advantage to, especially places like Lagos and the rest of them that have traffic jam. Port Harcourt, Abuja. It will make fewer cars to go on the road. Because many people will be interested in boarding those vehicles that will be cheaper. And then it's not fair to say that the state governors are doing much. Like Soludo, he has offered a free scholarship, from nursery school to JS3, and then 5,000 naira education support for any student that is in the senior secondary in Anambra in the public school. And one thing I like about him is that we're talking about one Nigeria where we should do our independence. He's one man that is not discriminate, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your state. Once you're in a public school there, your parents are there, they are paying tax to that state. They are not discriminating, but some governors have introduced it.
Well, thank you very much, Ada, for calling in. And Ken, coming back to you, again, I understand that you are also pressured for time, but you had to fit us in. So thank you very much for that. Maybe putting the last question to you is that Labour, there is time. Do you think that there is time between now and that third for this to still be averted? Because it's going to just require, reasonable minds to come together, reasonable NLC mind, reasonable federal government mind to come together on this issue. Because the last thing we need right now is a strike. As I was telling you about Nupeng reportedly saying that the drivers and the whole chain should also join in this strike.
Well, there's ample time. If you take a cue from what the National Assembly just did in the screening of the CBN governor and the federal governor, you can see that they broke their normal, they went into a committee of the whole, the Senate President sat as the committee chairman. They did thorough screening as far as I was concerned, and they went ahead and even went on a break, came back again and had plenary after 7 o'clock in the night, just to ensure that they confirmed the CBN governor, so that the CBN governor will be will have all the rights now to act in that capacity. The National Assembly we're taking into cognizance of the fact that the economic situation we are in is we're in a dire situation. So the Minister of Labour should take a cue from what the National Assembly did. He doesn't only have time, he has more than enough time. He has to call the leadership of the NLC and the TUC immediately now, even if it means meeting to the wee hours of today, up until Saturday, even if it means till Sunday, but they need to come out with a workable agreement. And he must also maybe commit to vacating the court order or applying for the court order to be withdrawn. These negotiations has to be done with the Attorney General, who is a very important party in this matter right now. It's not only going to be done by the Minister of Labour. The Attorney General will also join him, and a workable agreement will be reached so that Labour can call off this strike before the 3rd of October. You already know that 2nd of October is a public holiday, so that is already one day off in the calendar. So you can imagine by the time we now wake up on Tuesday when we're supposed to all be going back to work, we now start sitting back at home. Thank you so much for having me.
We really appreciate you, Ken. Thank you very much for being on the program today. And, now back to our guest in studio, Kabir Akingbolu. It has been stated that guys, talking about the executive now, things are tough. The president was speaking this way on his recent trips, that things are tough. He feels the pain. Every Nigerian feels the pain. But there's no going back on subsidy, this fuel subsidy removal. Very well. Because it's like we have to factor that in, that whatever the work is, it seems that they have determined that, without wanting to be wicked, sometimes they say, I think they say that a doctor has to be wicked to be kind, in the sense that sometimes the procedure is not going to be the most palatable, but you will be relieved in the fullness of time. That seems to be the very simplistic way to understand what we have on our hands here. There's no going back on this fuel subsidy thing.
The earlier we understand that, the better for us. However, you see, even the Bible said a delayed hope sickens the mind. Now, there are some other things. Maybe the government is misplacing some priorities. Maybe they are concentrating on some other things. There are some local remedies that could be that are readily available. A situation whereby one piece of orange is sold for 100 naira in the country that we are. A gari is sold for 600 naira, a bag of rice for 55,000, 60,000, and you want people to be singing and dancing. It's not possible. There are ways you could get a commodity, establishment board where they can deal in all those. Even under the military in those days, there was what they call NNDC, Nigerian National Supply Company. They make things to be cheap because when they knew that the captains of the industries are making things to be too expensive, they established a kind of rival, organization. We could do this. Then there could be price monitoring or regulatory agency where they can say, so things should not be more than this. These are what government should do. Leave the issue of a dollar first. The things we produce locally, where are they so expensive? People say, we should go to farm, we should do local rice. Local rice is more expensive in eateries and, mama put. Yes. So why? The one we produce by ourselves. So why is gari expensive? Why is plantain expensive? Why is banana expensive?
Everything is expensive.
Everything, even water. Pure water or sachet water, you know how much they sell it. Bottled water, you know how much they sell it. These are the first things that government should first attack. There are ways you can do this, that the price will come down even before the dollar comes down, because we operate an importing economy. We don't export anything.
Sani, thank you for calling in from Benin in Edo State. Good morning.
Thank you very much, sir.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. I want to join millions of Nigerians to say that, of a truth, the suffering is actually high, but not this one that laborers are doing. Let me give you a scenario from Benin. I've been on the neck of the labor in Edo State. Why do I have to say so? Your guest now just said that local rice is more expensive than foreign rice. In mission of yesterday in Benin City, I went to price one of the local rice. It's 57,000. After they told me, they agreed that they will give me for 55. When I came back, they said it was 57 that they increased money. And that's local rice. Because of advert, I will not want to call the name of those rice. Now, you find out that in Edo State, For 2 years, there was no election for local government. What did the Labour Party, what did the NSC in Edo State, what did they do? When there was no resources in Nigeria, when they were talking about the issue of cash, there was no one in Nigeria, in Edo State. What did Labour do? And do you know that the current Labour chairman, NSC chairman in Edo State, is a card-carrying member of PDP? Do you think such man will support the policy of other political parties when the party lost at the poll? So these are the issues that before you can go to equity, I think that the hands should be clean. But that's not to say that the pain is not there. I would have even expected that the Labour should have been saying, okay, since even though you are not new in politics, but this is your administration, what is the timeline? If you give you 6 months, if we give you 4 months, would that be enough for you now to put structures on ground for us to look at? You just say you want to grant the nation. Are you truly fighting for the people? Because the people are already suffering right now. If you not grant the nation, will the other Nigeria that you are fighting for, will their life be better? I think that's what Labour should want, because this Labour that fly plane that don't go by road, this Labour that belongs to political party, I can't trust this kind of Labour. But that's not to say that the federal government should not do anything to see how they can eliminate the suffering that Nigeria are going through. You understand what I'm trying to point out to make?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sunny, for calling in. And he hits it, really. He hits the issue. And that's why I didn't want us to I wanted us to try and keep it as much as possible a labor matter. But sometimes labor and politics intertwine themselves. You know, political parties have been mentioned this morning, even though it's a strictly labor affair. The Labour Party has been mentioned. PDP has been mentioned. These are parties that are known to be opposition, but we sort of try to emphasize that, look, it's not, for this time we're talking about, it's not about politics.
It's about doing the right thing.
Yes. It's about, thank you. Thank you. It's about doing the right thing.
Earlier on the program, we observed that.
Sorry, sir. The point has been made that Labour, I think it was Mr. George who started off by saying that Labour has not interrogated the states first. Look, all that is available, what have you done? How efficient have we been? What can be done further? That is not to say that the federal government can, bring out its easy chair and relax. No, that's not what we're saying. But why are you aiming for the center? Yeah. Why are you aiming for the center and not exploring other options? Yeah.
Interestingly, Labour and whether they all have branches in all the states of the federation, including the FCT. So this makes it easy for them to be able to achieve some things if they want to.
If they want to.
Because you see, I believe there are a lot of roles to be played by Labour Party. We have weekend, Saturday and Sunday today as resting days. It wasn't like that. In those days, you walk through your nose, the plantation workers and so on and so forth. Towards the end of 18th century, when we started having, Saturday and Sunday as resting day because of labor activities. Those are the kind. We want you to fight for your members. We want you to fight for Nigeria. We want you to fight for good governance, probity and accountability. But in the right way, government too should not sleep. They should find some other alternatives. If you have, apply one method and it's not working, apply another one that can be faster.
But we have to be exhaustive.
But we have to be exhaustive, but then we have to be patient. And like your Bible will say that the patient cannot be too much. It may not be enough, but it can never be too much. And no good things has ever been achieved through, force. Yes. You do, I think, patience, understanding, negotiation, facilitation of issues, and so on and so forth, you arrive at the corner course.
Because we have to be careful here, because being theoretical now, personally, me just being theoretical, if it was to be said, and it could never be said, not given what the president has already said, that, okay, you know what, we suspend the removal of petrol, and then they will say, okay, okay, let's go back. Now, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So that's not going to happen.
We have moved away from that regime of subsidy payment and all that.
We've left that station.
We have left that station at all, long ago. However, but federal government should now, and even federal government should also have a kind of maybe advisory board or whatever to look at how these state governments are spending this 5 billion naira of a thing. Because when you say palliative, I am not one of the people that supports that. If you give palliative and say 5 billion naira, use it for education, we will see what has happened there. use it for agriculture. We'll see what has happened there. But a situation whereby you package a bag of rice of two things, that cannot feed a three-member family. This family member, you are saying is palliative. You cannot work, because if you feed me this morning, are you going to feed me tomorrow? And the way it is, most of the time, these things are done by political affiliation. An ABGA control state will want to give its members first. They will say, write down the name from ward and all that. These are what Labour should look at and say, are you giving it to your members or you are giving it to Nigerians? You understand? I understand the state that are paying 10,000. That is commendable enough. But even if that money had been converted to cash and given to workers, it would have been better. It would serve a better purpose than all this rice and grains and all that. It's like insulting the sensibilities of Nigerians. It's not only food that is our problem.
I think I think, was it Ken Okolugbo who had said that we really now have to review what has been done, how effective it has been.
Exactly.
That which has been done. Can better efficiency be introduced
exactly.
into it?
There could be suggestions to federal government, and so on and so forth.
And,
this can be done by Labour,
and
not only strike.
Yes. So Labour is probably well advised to, rather than stop the entire country, there's still a lot that Labour can be prevailed upon to consider as well. But I guess that's where we're going to have to.
They should see the problem as a national problem and not the problem of Labour leaders, or that they want to prove a point.
Or winning.
It
is Nigeria that must win.
That must win.
This is not about Labour winning.
It's not a matter of wins.
Government winning. No. It's about Nigeria must win.
Yes, it shouldn't be subjected to the whims and caprices of anybody.
Indeed.
Without any ifs and buts, once there is a court order anywhere in the world, it must remain. It remains valid and subsisting. We should praise the Attorney General, and I also pray Mr. Farhan too. I believe he will do the needful and advise his clients very well to ensure that
the law is the law.
Or probably he may need to educate them.
Okay.
No.
Let
them know.
Let's not patronize Labour.
Yes,
those guys are knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Those guys, they have experts in there.
They have been in the field for a long time.
Yes.
They want to just be mischievous, because he has to tell them, come. Yes, we want to go on strike over what was on ground. We cannot. We can't go on strike. Let us wait a bit.
We've got to wrap it up here. I want to thank you very much, Barrister Kabir Akingbolu, constitutional lawyer and public affairs analyst, and also Ken Okolugbo, who joined us for part of the time. Thank you very much to you both, gentlemen. That's our program today. Please join us on Monday for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folare. Bye-bye for now.
It's the Premier League all on DSTV. All the goals, all the clashes, all the moments. All of Rashford,